Just 3 years ago, the world as we knew it collapsed, changing beyond recognition. The animal and plant world became completely different, and people had to come to terms with this new, sometimes hostile reality. Many people died during the disaster, but the survivors had a chance to be saved. People gained the ability to control the monsters around them, and the most talented of them began to be called trainers. The main character of our story is an ordinary high school orphan named Marcus. He was only lucky in that the mysterious beauty Barbara was looking after him. All his life, Marcus dreams of finding his grandfather, who disappeared during the disaster. Now his life is unremarkable. He is an ordinary teenager with classic problems. Teacher Carolina announced that there will be an exam on animal development tomorrow. Marcus always dreamed of becoming a coach and earning a lot of money with this profession. He was already tired of poverty, but unfortunately this guy was deprived of any special talents, which made his life even more joyless. Returning home, he felt an inexplicable, chilling shiver down his spine, as if something unknown and powerful was awakening in his body. He just saw strange game windows in front of him, which means that his talent has finally awakened. At that moment, the ordinary loser opened the system's skills and didn't even realize what happened. He thought he was hallucinating due to stress and ignored it. On his way home, Marcus almost became a snack for a terrible spider. As soon as he saw this monster, the system immediately told him the detailed characteristics of the monster. Within a second, the spider began to attack this defenseless guy. Time seemed to stand still. Marcus felt the chilling approach of death, its cold breath on his neck. Frightened and defenseless, he began to run away and escape from this terrible monster, which was chasing him like a shadow. To date, the high school student had no special talents, and did not even think that he would have to face such difficulties. Then he realized that the system was not a hallucination, and he needed to use its hidden capabilities. He took advantage of his opponent's weakness, and decided to use a lighter to distract the spider. The initiative very quickly passed into his hands. He felt that he was no longer easy prey. As soon as he distracted the monster, he immediately continued his escape to his apartment. It seemed that the terrible spider was about to reach its victim and mercilessly tear off its head. This is exactly what would have happened if another monster had not appeared from our main character's room. Within a second, the spider was destroyed. He had no chance to defeat his new opponent, because he was too strong and fast. It turned out that Marcus is the owner of a centipede named Dao, who came to the rescue in time. Marcus escaped death and began to seriously consider that the system prompts were not hallucinations. After this, Dao returned to his non-combat form and began yelling at his master because he had not fed him for a long time. Monsters revert to their base form to reduce energy consumption and repair damage. For now, Marcus only has one pet at his disposal, but it's only a matter of time. He reached home and immediately prepared a delicious lunch for Dao. After that, he continued to study the system parameters and looked at the characteristics of his pet. It seems that the little worm has incredible potential that Marcus had no idea about before. After the disaster, monsters began to be divided into different levels that determined their potential. It turned out that the little Dao could progress to a high level and become a real titan. With such support, Marcus can be confident that he has nothing to fear anymore. He looked through the system's stats and learned exactly what was needed to help his pet progress. It is not difficult to guess that with such power, Dao can bring its owner a lot of money. Now Marcus has big financial problems. He has long dreamed of getting out of poverty. If the system that opened up in his head really works, then this opens the way for him to the top. He will finally be able to realize his dream of becoming a master of beast development. Now he can see all the hidden characteristics of monsters, an advantage he could only dream of. The skills of a coach allow one to earn big money and have serious weight in society. No one will make fun of Marcus anymore. The days filled with failures will be left far behind. After this, our hero immediately remembered what the teacher said in class. Tomorrow there will be an exam for trainers. All that remains is to submit an application for participation on time. Marcus did it that very second and became an official participant in the exam. The next morning, he immediately went to his neighbor Barbara. This is not the first time he has seen her in revealing clothes, and it always has a big impact on him. It's hard not to blush when you see such a beauty in front of you. Marcus asked Barbara to look after his little pet while he was taking an exam. Barbara accepted this request without any problems. She's always ready to help this guy. As soon as he left, she immediately returned to the apartment and called a very serious man. This man turned out to be Marcus's legendary grandfather. His name is Brandon, and he's the founder of the Southern Heavens faction. Barbara told Brandon that his grandson wanted to become a coach and repeat his grandfather's success. Brandon must finish his business as soon as possible and return to support his grandson in his endeavors. Meanwhile, Marcus has no idea that his grandfather is much closer than he seems. Brandon is a very influential figure in a changed world. He is cold, calculating, but at the same time quite kind and incredibly self-confident. As soon as he solves all his problems, he will immediately return to his beloved grandson. Then Marcus will finally be able to forget about his problems because no one will ever hurt him again. Now it's time to go to the exam, which will take place at the main department of the Beast Cultivation Masters. There are a lot of people gathered here today, all interested in becoming a coach. Such a profession opens all doors for a person. It is not surprising that there is such a stir here today. Here Marcus saw his friends. Here came Fat Jack with his sister Melly and mother, whose name is Linda. It looks like their mother is going to take part in the exam, because her regular job doesn't make enough money to feed these two hooligans. Melly and Jack are a big problem for a single mother. They constantly quarrel and break the rules of conduct at school. Marcus has long been accustomed to these guys. He can rightfully consider them his friends. He had just told them that he also wanted to become a coach, even though he had no talent before. Linda supported the high school student and wished him good luck. Meanwhile, not all the people gathered here were so friendly. Here you can see the Chinese copy of Ryan Gosling. This guy's name is Waltz. He is a man from the Wang clan. This guy is confident that with the help of his connections, he will be able to pass the exam without any problems. Because of his arrogance, he is a man whose nose many people dream of breaking. Now is not the time for conflicts, because it is time to start the exam. The one-eyed pirate Reuben appeared on the main stage and ordered all participants to prepare for the tests. The first obstacle will be a written exam where you will need to accurately describe the monsters shown in the video. Marcus felt quite confident, although before this, the exams had caused him wild discomfort. Today, everything is different because of the opening of a new system on which he counts so much. After watching the short video, the exam participants expressed obvious bewilderment. Few people realized what kind of monster was in front of them, because the video lasted only a few seconds. Reuben was adamant. He ordered everyone to answer the questions or refuse to take the exam. The mock exam this year is incredibly difficult to pass, but Waltz received the exam questions in advance. He thought he would be the only one who would pass this test, but Marcus thinks otherwise. Today the system works even better than yesterday. The main thing is that you can see all the characteristics of the monsters. Marcus answered all questions with ease and did not waste any extra time on it. Each new video was nothing more than a childish riddle for him. With the help of the system, you could not even think about it and calmly pave your way to the top. As soon as the time was up, all exam participants immediately handed in their answer sheets. It's time for verification, and Reuben will be personally involved in this process. He began to announce the results and said that the young mother had successfully passed the test. The same could be said about Waltz, and there is nothing surprising about this. All the people Reuben named made minor mistakes but passed the written test. Marcus didn't hear his name and began to get seriously worried. Had the system really failed? After a short pause, Reuben turned to the participants and asked a man named Marcus to stand up. Our hero's whole life flashed before his eyes, and it seemed to him that now he knew that he had done worse than everyone else on the test. In fact, it was premature panic. His result turned out to be the best in the group, as if Marcus really was a young genius. Everyone around was shocked, because an ordinary high school student showed an outstanding result. There's no doubt that Waltz is now mad as hell at this guy. He thought that today he would be the best again, but even cheating did not help him take first place. This does not mean that the exam is over. The most interesting things are yet to come. The participants came to some large and spacious place. Here the second, most important part of the exam will begin. The practical part is quite simple. You will need to get along with the monsters that are locked in the rooms. To pass the test, you only need to develop monsters within a week. Examiner Frank appeared in the hall, holding a box with the names of monsters in his hands. Each participant must come up and choose their personal pet for development. It was obvious that Waltz was up to something. He was thirsty for revenge for his humiliating defeat in the last test. There is no doubt that he made a deal with the examiner, and now Marcus will be completely unlucky. A trap awaits him. Each participant drew the number of the room where his personal monster is located. Reuben urged the participants to hurry up and get to work as quickly as possible. Marcus was in a good mood until he reached room 10. Here he realized that today's test would not be easy at all, but rather a real hell. In front of him is an aggressive monster, a redwater monkey. This monster should have been destroyed long ago, but there were too few monsters in the association for the exam. That's why they decided to keep the monkey. It was a decision that Frank made. All this was done with Val's money, a striking example of corruption in government structures, which flourishes even here. Marcus learned that leveling up this monkey would be incredibly difficult. At first, he was even ready to give up the test. But then he decided to try anyway. With the help of his system, he plans to do the impossible and not only tame this monster, but also make it a little stronger. To do this, you will have to put aside your fear and look at the backstory of the monkey named Alba. Experiments were conducted on this monster, which turned Alba into an aggressive beast. Taming such a giant would be incredibly difficult, especially for an ordinary person. It would be almost suicide. Marcus is not an ordinary high school student, as he recently discovered hidden talents within himself. Now he knows how to help monsters evolve and can find a common language with them. First, he will have to collect materials to level up, which can be done in the local storage. This guy seems to be getting more and more confident in his skills with each passing minute. 3 days have passed since the start of the test, and not all participants have achieved success. Some of them were clearly unlucky. The monsters refused to listen and evolve. More than 10 exam participants refused to continue the test. Meanwhile, the monkey Alba feels noticeably better. Her wounds have healed, and her condition has returned to normal. Marcus found the right ingredients and established a connection with the monster. Now, he finally realized that he could open the cage and release this giant into freedom. For a second, it seemed that this guy was about to be torn to pieces because of his excessive naivety. It was a premature panic, because Alba had no intention of hurting her savior. Marcus prepared a special bath for her that will help her evolve. At first, Alba refused to swim because it all looked extremely suspicious. I had to promise her a delicious dessert if they managed to take first place in the exam. As soon as she jumped into the water, black smoke immediately formed around her, as if magic had been used. The fire alarm went off in the 10th room, and the Monster Association staff immediately rushed there. Waltz was delighted. He felt that his competitor had finally failed. Now this pathetic worm is confident that he will be able to successfully pass the exam and take first place. Apparently his self-confidence prevents him from seeing the whole picture. In fact, Marcus is still alive and well. This guy has no problems, although at first it seemed like the situation was out of control. Many people gathered here to understand what happened to the crazy monkey. Everyone was sure that the experienced high school student had failed to correctly select the ingredients for evolution. Within seconds, Alba showed her face and began to exit the jacuzzi. At that moment, everyone except Marcus began to say goodbye to life and write suicide notes, their faces distorted with wild panic. They can be understood because a huge monster appeared in front of them, which is much scarier than the monsters from the movies. Even experienced examiners did not understand how to react to this. Only Marcus was incredibly pleased. With the help of the system, he saw that Alba had taken a step forward in her own evolution. The ingredients worked, and the monster increased all of its key stats. Now the monkey has become alive. Such changes are rare in the association. It seems that the young disciple has created a new kind of monster, something never seen before. Is he really a genius? Ruben noticed that Marcus got along well with his new pet. In this case, he is ready to make an exception and give the exam participant this monkey. Everyone around was shocked because it seemed that the association should leave such a talented monster for future experiments. Marcus was incredibly happy because now he would have another friend. Of course, this situation could not have happened without Waltz's participation. This guy said that such a dangerous monster should be destroyed immediately. He was clearly unhappy that his investment had not paid off. He was going to take first place in the exam, and now he intends to accuse Marcus of cheating. Frank felt he had to do the job he was paid to do and decided to support his employer. He said that a high school student could not have completed such a difficult task, so Marcus may indeed have broken the rules. Ruben was not going to believe these tales. He said that it was impossible to cheat in this exam. Also, this cannot be called a coincidence because Marcus really did increase absolutely all of his characteristics. This guy is truly talented and everyone around him should acknowledge it. Marcus decided to prove his skills and tell how exactly he managed to do the impossible. He began to tell all the information he knew about the redwater monkeys. He then went on to explain how he had analyzed Alba's problems. All that was left to do was to tell the instructions for evolution. This took a few supplies from storage and a little patience. With the right materials, even the craziest creatures can be made to evolve. Ruben recognized the guy's skills and said he had a great future ahead of him. He doesn't like it when students are accused of cheating, especially if there is no evidence to support the theory. He realized that there were dirty motives and money involved, so he decided to deal with the problem once and for all. Ruben began his investigation and began asking all the exam participants a lot of questions. He learned that Waltz had been negatively disposed towards his competitor from the very beginning. One of the association's workers reported that he saw Val's talking to the examiner and even paying him money. After a little investigation, this gnome realized that he had no more hope. Ruben was adamant and announced that he was excluding Waltz from the exam. Now this guy can forget about his coaching certificate for the next few years, and he deserves it. The master feels that the association did a poor job today and that the young talent almost suffered because of it. He invites Marcus to take a little walk and talk about the future. The exam was successfully completed, and Marcus soon received a certificate of intermediate rank. Now he can be happy because he has taken a big step towards his dream. Now he can confidently enter university and continue his education at the highest level. We need to rewind time a little and see how his conversation with Master Ruben ended. It turned out that Ruben had asked the young genius to represent the association at the World Masters Tournament. The number of beast development masters in the city is currently at an extremely low level. They haven't had any success at the World Tournament for a long time, but now they finally have a chance to make things right. With such a talented guy, you can change the situation and make a loud statement about yourself. At first, Marcus was not very interested. He felt that he was not yet ready for such a challenge. Perhaps everything will change when this guy finds out that the best participants in the tournament receive financial rewards. This guy always dreamed of making a lot of money, so he quickly changed his mind. He said that he loves responsibility and is ready to surprise the entire world for the sake of money. Now Marcus faces a grueling preparation for the Masters Tournament, where he will have to prove his exceptionalism. First, he plans to consult with Barbara and find out her opinion about his plans. Marcus returned home calmly and did not expect any danger at all. Alba showed incredible intuition and sensed that something strange was coming. The monkey blocked the attack in time and protected its owner from mortal danger. As soon as Marcus came to his senses a little, he immediately realized that there had been a small misunderstanding. He asked the monkey to calm down and said that there was no need to prepare for a fight. In fact, they were attacked by a centipede named Dao, who became jealous of her boss's other pet. Dao was here with Barbara. Apparently, they were just out for a walk. Marcus was very happy to see his older sister and told her about his success. He even said that the association's president gave him a monster after successfully passing the exam. Barbara didn't expect this guy to be so talented. She is pleased to know that he is taking confident steps into adulthood. But first they need to have a serious talk. Beast tamers are highly prized because their talents are very rare. In addition to the animals, the tamers have additional techniques to save their lives. Barbara said she could share a similar technique called punch deflection. With this technique, all damage received is transferred to the beast. After learning such a skill, Marcus will feel united with the Tao. He successfully concluded the contract and now felt much more confident. He is very pleased that the system helps him, because in addition to the characteristics of monsters, one cannot forget about learning additional skills. The next day, Marcus went to meet Barbara in the city center. He is already a mid-ranking master and promised to help her with her small company. Barbara used to be a co-owner of an animal development organization and invested a lot of money into it. Over time, the partners ran away with the money and took all the craftsmen with them, and Barbara was left with nothing. She suggests that Marcus not sit around doing nothing and get to work. He will have to work in a workshop, where he will receive a small salary and 20% of the company's shares. This will not affect his studies because he only needs to come here once a week. First she gave him a powerful tamer technique, and now she offers him a job in the city center. It's all a bit strange. If Marcus didn't know Barbara, he would think that this was some kind of trap. But this girl always tried to help him, so it's better not to doubt her. Of course, Marcus considers her a bit mysterious, but besides her, he has no one at all. Our hero doesn't even realize that Barbara is very nervous and afraid that he might suspect anything. Soon they finally made it up to the workshop where Jessica greeted them. She works here as a secretary and will explain all the intricacies of the job to Marcus. Barbara quickly said goodbye to her little brother and wished him good luck. Jessica led him into the main office and began the registration process. Marcus must do what he has studied for a long time: raise the level of animals. He confidently stated that he would be able to increase the level of monsters at least 3 times. As soon as other employees of the company heard about this, chaos immediately began in the office. No one expected that a master would appear here who could increase the characteristics of animals several times. For the use of such skills, one can expect a large salary. Marcus is ready to start work now, but first he needs to make sure the animals are in good condition. One of the organization's visitors, whose name is Ben, immediately took his pet out of the box. The electronic mouse seems to be in terrible condition. Marcus quickly analyzed this pet and saw all his needs, strengths, and weaknesses. The system informed the master that he needed to help the beast evolve as quickly as possible. Just recently, Ben fed a mouse a jade mushroom in order to increase the pet's stats. The result was the opposite, and the pet became significantly worse. To achieve evolution, Marcus must prepare all the necessary materials, for which Ben will have to pay. As soon as all the materials were purchased, the young master immediately began work. Everyone was scared, because this teenager didn't really look like a real professional. He pulled out a large knife and tried to act as if he was in control of the situation. It all looked more like the behavior of a chef before preparing a delicious soup. Within a few seconds, the little mouse found itself in hot water. Did this guy really go crazy and turn into a monster? Marcus tried to defuse the situation and calm his new friends. He said he was just trying to give his pet a healing bath. It all looked as strange as possible, but Ben had no choice but to trust this madman. After just 10 minutes, it was time to open the lid and see what had happened to the mouse. Ben was very scared and prepared for the worst, but the result was extremely successful. Within seconds, the Pink Panther had escaped from the warm bath and demonstrated incredible potential. The bloody electric mouse has leveled up and reached the elite rank. The young master demonstrated incredible potential and amazing abilities. He made Ben feel happy, joyful, and carefree again. Of course, you will have to pay a hefty fee for this because that is how it works. Ben stated that he had other pets and was willing to pay triple the price for their treatment. This is how quickly yesterday's schoolboy found himself a regular client and earned easy money. Just recently, he was a pathetic loser with no future, but now he is considered one of the most talented young masters in the city. Now we can return to Barbara, who is holding a good quality crystal core in her hand. She ordered her spiritual monster to take this core to the neighboring apartment. This woman seems extremely mysterious, but it is unlikely that she wishes Marcus harm. In any case, her pet took the crystal core to our protagonist's room. There, this magic pill was discovered by Dao, who was accustomed to eating everything that moved. He immediately took this magic pill and felt internal changes. Marcus had no idea what kind of madness was going on in his house at that moment. He already knows that in order to help his pets evolve, he will have to fork out for expensive materials. As soon as Marcus approached the house, he heard strange sounds. He immediately forgot about all his problems and rushed towards his apartment. It seemed to him that an apocalypse was happening in his home right now, and it needed to be stopped immediately. As soon as he ran home, he saw that his purple centipede was evolving with the help of a lot of blood and flesh. He learned that Dao had eaten the crystal core of the Thunder Titan centipede. A few minutes later, Barbara came into the apartment and explained that she had a hand in these events. This mysterious and insanely beautiful woman plays by her own rules and pursues her own motives. She said that she always wanted to help, but if she did it openly, Marcus would definitely refuse. After just a few seconds, it disappeared, leaving behind a pleasant aftertaste. Now we need to figure out what is happening with the Tao, because evolution is not the most pleasant process. Sometimes a pet has to go through hell in order to increase its stats. But after the evolution process ends, the pet begins to feel incredible power. The same thing happened today with Dao, who turned into a high-level Titan assassin. All of its stats have been greatly increased, and it now has its own attribute in the form of thunder and poison. All this takes a lot of energy, so Dao will have to rest a little. This pet needs to get used to changes in its own body. After all these events, Marcus was tired and decided to rest a little. Soon Dao finally woke up and saw that his master was still resting. Sometimes pets are a real problem for their owners, but this is not the case. Marcus is a wonderful owner who is loved and appreciated by his animals. With the help of the system, he better understands their characteristics, so he becomes an even more sensitive and caring father. Now it's time to move to a local school and follow an interesting dialogue. The director's office is very noisy today due to a clash of conflicting interests. The principal doesn't want to let monsters into his school because the children might get hurt. Apparently, he does not understand that professional training is very important, because the situation in the world can worsen at any moment. Technology is developing very quickly, but this is not enough. If the evolution of monsters continues at this rate, new human technologies will not be able to stop them, and the world will be on the brink of chaos. Children need to be prepared for challenges from the very beginning, and the school principal is obliged to accept this. Now, all the school children are talking about the fact that the loser Marcus actually received a trainer's certificate. They even wrote about it in the newspaper because Marcus became the youngest coach and broke the exam record. Just recently, he felt like the whole school was making fun of him, and now he has become a local hero. Soon the teacher entered the room and warned the students that their old life was in the past. From today onwards, all high school students must undergo additional training in monster communication. The project was proposed by the military to prepare students for adult life. Today, the students will begin training, so they had better forget about jokes and prepare for a harsh reality full of dangers. Caroline asked Marcus to go out into the hallway with her to talk about something. Our hero was noticeably nervous. Icy shivers ran down his spine, anticipating something important. It turned out that the principal had ordered him to act as a representative of the school. Marcus is not very happy about this because he is primarily interested in the application for the specialty of combat trainer. This profession will allow him to earn a lot of money, although it is incredibly dangerous. He will have to try very hard to get into a good university. In any case, this guy is talented, so there is no point in discouraging him from following his dream. A few hours later, the high school students prepared to gain a new experience. The colonel and his men have already arrived at the school for training. Marcus and his friend John are ready to listen to all the instructions of the new instructor. These guys don't even understand what kind of hell they're about to get into. Instructor Roger is a man with a deadly gaze who is not to be trifled with. He immediately warned the disciples that they would have to go through severe trials. The instructor advises students to buy diapers in order to be prepared for any unexpected situations. Today's training will begin with an introduction to a wild monster. Everyone around was shocked and could not believe their eyes. Are school children really going to have to come into contact with such a terrifying creature? The seniors were expecting very different lessons when they walked to school this morning. You'll have to improvise and act based on instincts. Roger warned them that they would all have to work hard, otherwise he would make them regret that they were born into this world. These lessons will last for several hours a day over the next couple of months. When Marcus came home after his first lesson like this, he felt like a squeezed lemon. He should not forget that he has pets at home that constantly need food. Lately, our hero has been feeling too busy. He didn't think about it when he dreamed about adult life. It turned out that there was absolutely nothing in the refrigerator. These little pigs, which are called pets, have already managed to eat everything that was in the house. We'll have to earn a lot more money to feed these hooligans. Also, don't forget that Alba needs expensive materials to evolve. You need to constantly find money to invest in your pets. To do this, Marcus must work hard and constantly improve his knowledge. No matter how difficult it may be for him, he will have to endure it if he really wants to get out of poverty and become a famous beastmaster. The next day, he returned to school and found that most of the students had come with their animals. Here you can find monsters for every taste, from crocodiles to snow-white hares. It's hard not to notice this huge fanged pig. The problem is that a huge monster has blocked the entrance to the school and is not going to get up. This little pig was very small as a baby, but now he has turned into a powerful and unbridled Godzilla. One of the inspectors noticed the problem and decided to intervene. He is not going to ask the pig to get up, because all he needs to do is ask the wolf for help. This terrible monster is always ready to carry out any order of his boss, especially if he has to use force to do so. Peppa Pig immediately realized that she had better get up and not test the wolf's patience. Once the problem was resolved, it was time to start full-fledged lessons. The inspector is going to teach children exactly how to handle animals. Before you start training, you first need to understand the habits and preferences of your pets. The silver moon wolf showed his love for black pork. He always enjoyed playing with his owner and then sleeping all day. As a result, after a certain time, he began to completely obey the order and turned into an obedient boy. The right training method will help every owner identify and develop the strengths of their animal. This will take a little effort, but patience and hard work always pay off. After explaining the theoretical knowledge, it was time to practice a little. Students will receive educational literature and will be able to familiarize themselves with the materials. Marcus has already learned the secret technique of damage transfer, so now he's going to defend. The young genius noticed how the red monkeys help soldiers carry heavy boxes. He'd already read about the properties of the monkey in literature from the school library. Over the years, monkeys evolve rapidly and begin to viciously attack heavy and hard objects. They develop their characteristics and become hard as a rock. Through such training, their defensive skills are constantly evolving. If this method is used on Dao, it can help improve the defensive characteristics. To do this, you will have to take the necessary educational material from the school storage. Perhaps the Dao will not appreciate such training, but that is his problem. Marcus knows how to improve his pet's stats, even if it means being a little rough and cruel. Hammer blows will help force the pet to evolve and make its skin as thick and tough as possible. In the end, Marcus achieved his goal, and perhaps Dao will never forget that black day filled with pain and torment. Marcus performed similar training every day for the next week. He doesn't have to go to training this morning, so he's going to get some sleep. This could cause problems, since he has two crazy people living at home who are constantly hungry. If you don't feed your pets for even a few hours, they start to go crazy and try to tear the whole house into small pieces. We have to come to terms with the new reality and adapt to the circumstances. Sometimes the entire salary is spent on food, but thanks to this, pets are constantly evolving. Alba even learned how to use a phone. All that remains is to teach her how to shoot videos on TikTok. This monkey could have been made into a good blogger, a social media superstar, but for now Marcus hadn't thought about it at all. Our hero just received a call from the CEO of a security company. His name is Christopher. Marcus had never heard of this guy, but nevertheless received a very interesting offer from him. He immediately rushed to the office and found out that Mr. Christopher was already there. This person turned out to be an adult man. At first glance, he seemed quite calm and reasonable. He is going to invite Marcus to the position of trainer consultant in his security company. It's quite strange because there are many other young masters in the city. Why did Christopher come here? There are only 2 experienced monster trainers in the city, and they are all very busy with their work. These people are not easy to reach. So many companies are forced to look for young talent. About Marcus right now, he was written about in the newspaper, and that's why Christopher became interested in this guy. He's going to trust a young and talented project in order to win in the long term. Marcus is willing to accept such a job as long as it does not interfere with his studies, and he does not sign a full contract. Christopher's proposal, he realized that he had won the lottery. Now he will be able to earn crazy money in a short amount of time. This is the jackpot. Without thinking twice, Marcus signed the contract, and now our hero has received a full promotion. Events are moving too fast in his life. It will be difficult for him not to lose his head because of such unexpected success, which fell upon him like an avalanche. As soon as Christopher said goodbye to Marcus, he immediately called his boss and reported everything that had happened. The man couldn't understand why they had to sign a contract with an ordinary high school student, but was forced to comply with the boss's demands. Meanwhile, Marcus met with Ben, who finally brought another monster. Before us is a flower fairy who is only at the 3rd level of development. To upgrade her class, she needs the essence of 100-year-old wood and 100 drops of flower dew. With the help of evolution, the flower fairy will be able to take part in the Flower King tournament. This is not just a beauty contest, because the owner can receive a huge cash prize for first place. Usually, only girls participate in the flower contest, but Ben doesn't care about the rules. He dreamed about this all his life, and this is exactly why he bought his little pink princess. After hearing this, Marcus has no right to refuse to help this guy. He ordered his assistant to buy all the necessary materials and get ready for work. Very soon, he got everything he needed, and now Ben and Jessica can once again prepare for the worst. They still can't get used to the master's specific manner of treatment. Every time Marcus looks like he's about to destroy the beast he's been entrusted with. The pink fairy was so scared that she almost had a heart attack. She was in great pain from the injection that Master Marcus gave her. At that moment, the pet even squeaked a little, and Ben almost went crazy with anger. Then the situation returned to normal, and everyone around finally calmed down. The young genius has once again achieved the impossible, and now we have a flower goddess who has taken a step forward in her evolution. Ben did not hide his emotions and almost killed Marcus out of joy. Meanwhile, our hero has no idea how difficult it is for other students to make progress. Everyone wants to become an animal trainer, but developing these skills is not easy. Many students are ready to give up their endeavors, except for this mysterious girl who wants to reach Marcus's level. We will hear about her again very soon, as well as about what is happening in the jungle. It is well known that small animals are gradually evolving in all corners of the planet. This doesn't surprise anyone at all, but some facts are hidden from view. It turned out that deep in the forest there are not only small and friendly animals. Here you can also find brutal monsters that are trying to turn into large titans. Every day there are more and more of them. It will clearly end in something very bad. Meanwhile, the young genius came to the store to buy some materials for his pets. He has already bought up all the available cedar needles because his demands are too great. Deliveries stopped a week ago, all because of the long-eared spiders. These spiders ate all the yin attribute supplies, and now the forest area is occupied by an army of insects. Other monsters living in the forest also became their food, so the farm stopped working and sending materials to the city. Marcus immediately remembered that the school had recently begun collaborating with the military. Then a strange company came to him to offer cooperation. Now there is information about a new species of spiders. Is all this really part of the future catastrophe? It seems we will have to adapt to a new world that will soon change everything. Soon Marcus received a message from Christopher. The Blue Shield Company is also interested in black spiders. They agreed to meet to discuss this danger to society. The government has already managed to gather a large number of companies to explore the dark corners of the forest. We need to identify the weak points of the monsters and then completely destroy this crazy species. Christopher wants Marcus to stay with the company and keep an eye on the devil mantises. All the other employees will go into the forest, so there will be practically no one left here. A large number of devilish mantises are collected here. Christopher also promised to leave a few people to help Marcus. If everything goes well, he will receive a solid reward, much more than he earns in his organization. Marcus agreed and went to examine the devil mantises. Meanwhile, Christopher was watching him from the side, at which point an assistant approached him to see what some high school student was doing there. Christopher told this guy to shut up, otherwise even his older sister wouldn't be able to protect him. The boss of this corporation told Christopher that he really believes in the young genius, because the future lies behind him. Meanwhile, Marcus finished his inspection and selected more than 10 praying mantis specimens. Then he asked to prepare a laboratory for him and all available materials for evolution. In just 10 minutes, he managed to select 10 of the strongest monsters, and never made a single mistake. It was truly amazing. Now Marcus is managing his system much better, and those who doubted him before are starting to change their minds. Even the young master himself begins to feel much more confident. He has clearly become accustomed to his skills, and is now not going to miss his chance to become a great master. Within less than a few hours, the company's employees were shocked by the phenomenal progress of the praying mantises. Now no one will ask why this guy comes to their branch. Marcus has some truly brilliant skills, so there is no doubt that this guy has a great future ahead of him. After his work, our main character usually goes to training with his pets. He never forgets the Tao, which must constantly evolve. Through constant training, the bond grows and friends become closer to each other. A high school student named Lisa noticed the success of the local genius. She is incredibly tall. If Lisa were a man, she would be incredibly popular at school. She invited Marcus to join the team, apparently because of his talent. If he had continued to be a loser, he would hardly have interested anyone. But now everything has changed. In later stages of training, there will be paired battles, so Marcus will need to find a partner in any case. Now it remains to find out what kind of pet Lisa controls. You expect something small and cute from the girl, but in the end it turns out that she controls a terrible rhinoceros. It was an unexpected turn of events. The iron rhinoceros is not a joke at all. I guess I need to be extremely careful with this girl, otherwise it will all end badly. Teaming up with such a partner can help you get high grades. Marcus quickly analyzed the rhinoceros and realized that this was an elite-ranking monster. Combining this monster with the Tao can create a beautiful symbiosis. Together they can reach the top, so teaming up is a good idea. Marcus agreed to cooperate. Friendship with Lisa could have a positive effect on his future. She is very kind and sympathetic, but, unfortunately, she has not yet learned to control her emotions. Meanwhile, in the combat zone in the dark forest, a large number of masters had already gathered. The famous director Christopher will personally take part in the raid. According to the latest data, gray devil spiders are very afraid of fire. Fire masters are gathered here, as well as devilish mantises. All this is necessary in order to stop the spiders. Most likely, devil spiders hunt their prey in groups and then bring it back to their nests to feed their mother. This mission is extremely important because when the mother receives enough food, several times more spiders will appear. The soldiers and craftsmen are prepared for battle. Difficult hours of testing await them. The encounter with the spiders promises to be extremely aggressive and uncompromising. Soon, all the participants of the raid heard strange sounds, as if the god of thunder had descended from the heavens. The praying mantises did not hide their fear and trembled like little chickens. Within a few seconds, it became clear that something big and very strong was approaching. King Kong appeared in the forest, who did not come here to play games. The experienced Christopher immediately realized that he was facing a monster that was at the level of a lord. King Kong is the ruler of the dark forest. Meeting him can be compared to a disaster. The researchers were prepared for death and said goodbye to life. They all started running in different directions and saving themselves. The soldiers could not stop the monster. At the very moment when it seemed that there was no chance of survival left, the legendary protector of the forest appeared. The golden deity attacked the gorilla, and a battle began that was no less large-scale than the Battle of the Gods. None of the monsters wanted to give in, but it was clear that King Kong was not ready for such fiery pressure. Soon he was forced to retreat, and the surviving people could breathe a sigh of relief. By that time, an elite military unit had arrived here. These guys are real professionals who are always one step ahead of the regular military. They come when the situation gets out of control, and this is exactly the case now. The raid has already begun, and the fire masters have found themselves in the spider cave. So far, they have no problem killing the spiders. The problem lies in the number of these terrible monsters. Soon they will run out of energy, and then serious troubles will begin. For now, spiders are too weak to challenge full-fledged high-ranking beasts. They are saved only by their large numbers and a good understanding of the terrain. Animals that have achieved evolution always surprise us with their names. At first glance, they seem like small and cute creatures, but in battle, they turn into bloodthirsty devils and invincible gods of war. The research team feels they are very close to finding the Spider Queen. The Spider Queen has a weak attack because her main purpose is reproduction. Such a monster seemed too weak for its class, so the battle promised to be easy and quick. The devilish praying mantises, trained by the young genius, intervened in the matter. Their strength was not enough to defeat the queen, and the situation immediately escalated to the limit. All the raid participants experienced incredible headaches and dizziness. It feels like some kind of airborne poison is affecting them. Christopher saw the aura of the ruler and realized how dire the situation was. The squad just attacked a monster that was at the peak of the commander rank. They have interrupted his evolution and must now flee immediately if they want to stay alive. Within minutes, Christopher was on the street calling on all the soldiers to prepare for battle. He is the only one who managed to escape from the embrace of death, and now he wants to understand why the government forced them to go into this cave. He thought it would be a simple raid, but it turned out that they had to arrange a date with the devil. Soon another raid participant emerged from the forest and managed to escape from the cave alive. All the participants of the raid ran away in different directions. It is unknown who of them survived. The soldiers underestimated the threat and must now reap the fruits of their own incompetence. paying for it with their own lives. At the same time, Marcus was quietly having fun in the local park with Dao. They have a great time and their bond grows with each training session. The little pet is constantly progressing thanks to the tireless efforts of its owner, becoming stronger day by day. All you need to do is buy the required amount of materials, and the monsters will constantly become stronger. As pets evolve, Marcus will feel his reputation as a trainer has increased. In this case, he will be able to obtain an advanced trainer license and open up new opportunities for himself. Today, Marcus met his new girlfriend, who brought him notes she took during training. Once you have teamed up, it is very important to know exactly how your partner and his pet have been trained. It became clear that the rhinoceros was serious. An alliance with such a monster would be very useful. By that time, the first stage of training was behind us, and it was time for new adventures. Some students were disqualified for failing to complete assignments and missing classes. If someone is dissatisfied, he can personally approach the inspector and say goodbye to life. Students were required to be more attentive and not sit on Instagram during lessons. Someone even thought of falling asleep on the training ground during training. All these people have no right to get a second chance because they have shown their unprofessionalism. Phase begins, so students had better become more attentive. Accidents that end in tragedy can happen here. Most likely their pets will face battles with other monsters. Among high school students, there are many students who are confident in their pets and consider themselves favorites. Marcus has chosen a completely different strategy and remains in the shadows. But this will not always be the case. There will be 5 people in each group, of course. Most of the students want to be close to the young genius. Some even had to fight to unite with Marcus because everyone wants to be closer to the talent. The principal inspector for Phase 2 will be Mr. Phil, who will be responsible for the practical teaching of the pupils. It seems he has prepared something special for them, a stage in their lives that the students will never forget. First, they will have to face the steel boar, which is a level 9 monster. Not everyone was prepared to meet such a creature. You can always swap the boar for a bloody hyena, but that doesn't mean the challenge will be any easier. Marcus quickly analyzed the situation. He realized that the hyena was much more dangerous than the boar. Thanks to his skills, he can see hidden characteristics and confidently move forward when everyone else is afraid to move. He chose a boar and did what no one expected. He boldly challenged the wild beast, not being afraid of its power. Now the battle awaits. Dao has evolved enough to finally show his abilities. We've already seen him fight a spider in the stairwell, but today he's facing a beast of a completely different caliber. For a long time, Dao consumed a large amount of precious materials. Now he must repay his master. In less than a second, the assembled students heard the terrible roar of the monster. They thought that the boar would now tear the centipede into pieces, but the result was the opposite. In less than a minute, Pumba realized that today's opponent was much stronger than him. Victory was only a matter of time. It was only necessary to correctly capitalize on their advantage. Everyone around was shocked. No one expected that such a strong monster would be powerless before the centipede, giving in to her in a matter of moments. Even the instructor was shocked, although he knew perfectly well that Marcus was the most talented student in the school. The boar is still alive and able to fight, so the test must continue. Inspector Phil ordered the students to quickly prepare for battle. The group that Marcus was in did not stand out for its special talents and skills. Next to him are ordinary students who do not have a hidden system. That is why their results do not stand out at all compared to our main character. However, their support and friendship may prove useful in the future. In any case, Marcus must form a team that will become a reliable support for him in the trials of life. Problems did not end there. The wild dog decided to have a little snack and couldn't resist the delicious shashlik because his sense of smell turned out to be stronger than his upbringing. We had to forcefully tear him away from the wild boar because it was completely unethical. The instructor was extremely disappointed with the group he had to teach. Only Marcus got good grades and returned home in a great mood. He always enjoyed spending time with his pets, especially after he began to understand them better. Soon he received a call from the Hunters Association. Perhaps the cedar needles had finally arrived. The order has finally arrived in the city, and now all that remains is to pick it up. As you have already understood, Marcus is a naive and kind guy without evil intentions and bad ideas. There are very few such people. The world is surrounded by evil and envious people who want to take everything away from you, like hungry wolves. The local guys noticed that Marcus was spending a lot of money on materials from the association. It was impossible not to be intrigued by this story. Marcus very quickly became a target for bullies. Soon night fell and the gang of hooligans prepared to do their dirty deeds. They climbed over the fence and remained unnoticed despite the bright moonlight. Each of them felt quite confident. It was immediately obvious that this was not their first business. Soon they found our main character's apartment. At that moment, another door opened in the corridor. From this door appeared the beautiful Barbara. Even at night, she looks like the goddess of love Aphrodite. The young hooligans immediately pretended that they had returned home late and were just trying to open their doors. At first, Barbara didn't pay any attention to this and decided to go back to bed. Seeing her beauty, the hooligans were not going to let her go and decided to kill two birds with one stone. They said they were very thirsty and asked to come in to quench their thirst. These vile scoundrels do not feel the boundaries of their conscience. Soon they will have to pay for it. A few seconds later, the hooligans were already in Barbara's room and felt right at home. They locked the door behind them, supposedly to prevent bandits from getting inside. All this is nothing more than a trick to take advantage of a defenseless and weak woman. In fact, these idiots never realized who they were dealing with. The walls of this apartment are covered with a special sound insulating material. Even the neighbors won't hear your screams. Within a second, a shiver ran down the spine of each of these guys. They realized that they had fallen into a trap and now they would be punished very severely. In order to save his life, he had to take out a weapon and challenge the beauty. Barbara was prepared for any eventuality and quickly demonstrated her martial arts skills to the highest level. With one deft move, she showed who was boss and made the hooligans tremble with terror. This is just the beginning because her spiritual monster is very hungry. Together with him, she will now create a real nightmare in her apartment. A bloody Halloween. Everything will be for real. Hooligans haven't seen the movie Saw 4, but now they will have the opportunity to feel all the events of the film on their bodies. There was a lot of screaming that night, but none of the residents of the house heard anything. Marcus slept peacefully and didn't even suspect what was happening next to his apartment. Barbara called the old man and said that she had 3 volunteers who wanted to take part in an interesting special operation. This cunning woman is up to something again, and now it will be doubly interesting to follow the developments. The next morning, Marcus calmly went to school to continue his studies. Using his methods, he helped his friends make their pets much stronger. Now they are making confident progress and looking forward with their heads held high. They still have a lot of work ahead of them, but with such a talented guy, there is no doubt that the results will improve every day. Our hero received a phone call from Christopher, who offered to arrange another meeting. Apparently, his company was seriously damaged by what happened in the forest. Now he is forced to call the young genius again. Marcus was not used to refusing help. He happily agreed to meet. Within hours, he was in a car with Christopher and his young daughter, who is also a high school student. This young beauty's name is Catherine. She is quite hot-tempered, but no less talented. Christopher asks Marcus to help him solve the problem with his daughter's problem animal. Before us is a cat of a rare breed. It is at the 12th level of development and has a weakness for water. Marcus readily agreed to help and said that Catherine could come to his workshop at any time. After that, they said goodbye. Now it was time for a more serious conversation. Christopher said that they should meet his friends, who were already waiting for them, at the meeting place. Very soon they found themselves in a country restaurant. It looks more like a villa in the mountains, and is clearly where the city's richest people are invited. Marcus has never been to such beautiful places, yet he remains quite calm and confident. Meanwhile, experienced representatives of the association have gathered here, for example, Captain Sophia from the team of Firefly Hunters. Also here is a member of the Celestial Star Hunters team. His name is James. The representatives of the monster hunting teams have gathered here, and judging by their appearance, they don't really trust some schoolboy. Christopher promised that he would bring an experienced guy here, but in the end, he came with a high school student. All these masters look at Marcus like he's trash. They're not going to show him any respect. Only Sophia decided to intervene in the conversation and stand up for this child. Christopher quickly cleared the air, but it left Marcus feeling uneasy. He doesn't like being here at all, but for now he'll have to play by someone else's rules. Mr. James is a straightforward and vulgar person. He always says whatever he thinks. However, he respects the skills of the young genius, and this is not the first time he has heard Marcus's name. With each passing minute, Marcus felt growing disgust. He was clearly uncomfortable among all these people. Christopher invited him here to meet experienced craftsmen, but the meeting was unsuccessful. When it was all over, Christopher offered to take the guy home, but Marcus had already managed to call a taxi. He expected a completely different reception, and still does not understand why everyone around him is treating him so cruelly. When he left, everyone was shocked that this child really didn't know anything. It seems like all this time they've been hiding a truth from him that Marcus doesn't even know about. In fact, James deliberately provoked Marcus during dinner. Christopher asked him to do so. All a dirty game, one can only guess how it will all end. In any case, Christopher is clearly interested in this guy and does everything to make sure that others like him. A few minutes later, Marcus was already home and trying to forget this evening as a bad dream. On TV, he heard that the Dragon Conglomerate had released a serum with maximum side effects. In just a few days, a large number of mutations were recorded, and the serum was immediately removed from stores. Too many people have suffered from such drugs in recent times, it is difficult to call it an accident. Marcus was about to go to bed when Christopher called him again. He apologized for the dinner tonight and said he should have told them in advance who would be at the meeting. The experienced master began to tell the young genius that a great future awaited him. At this point, Marcus hung up. He wasn't going to listen to any of this nonsense. Probably everyone around him thinks he is naive, although this is not true at all. Apparently, it is time to increase his authority. They just talked about a local superstar on TV. In just a few years, the high school student became a true genius, and now Marcus wants to follow in his footsteps. To do this, you will have to train a lot and work constantly, but the result will be stunning. Marcus no longer wants to let other people look down on him. It's time to make a loud statement, establish authority, and make everyone around you nod their heads when meeting you. A few days later, Catherine took her friends with her and went to Marcus's workshop. They all took with them pets that are experiencing problems in evolution. Christopher warned his daughter that Marcus was a young genius with a high IQ. It is not difficult to guess that such a genius will have very expensive treatment. Soon the girls felt an incredible oppression of the aura. It seemed to them that they were now in the lair of a dragon. In fact, everything is much simpler. Marcus just gave his beast a potion to level up. Bone Monkey Alba has become stronger once again and has now reached the epic class. The monster has discovered a new ability, which can be called the Heart of Bloody Shadows. Now it will be difficult to go out on the street with such a monster. You will have to get used to the fact that everyone will pay attention to it. Alba has become too noticeable. We need to buy her an invisibility cloak. When Marcus left his office, he saw that unexpected visitors had come to see him. Probably old dog Christopher is afraid that the young genius has not contacted him for a long time, and that is why he sent his daughter here. He plays dirty, but Marcus still has no right to refuse clients. The girls want the master to examine the familiars and help them take their pets to the next level. At first, it seemed that the small, fluffy cat would be the most interesting specimen. It was only after some time that Marcus realized that the jellyfish was actually much more interesting. He had never seen anything like it before. This monster was truly amazing. Medusa absorbs any objects and moves them into subspace. Similar spatial animals can be bought on Vug Street at quite reasonable prices. After work, Marcus remembered this conversation and went to that very alley. He thought it wouldn't hurt to have another pet with special skills. The more he learns about the world around him, the more he wants to increase the number of his pets. He came here to personally look at the jellyfish aquarium and choose a worthy exhibit for himself. The owner of the stall agreed to make concessions and opened up great opportunities for the young master. Floating jellyfish evolved from common sea jellyfish and were modified by cosmic energy. Then they became victims of predatory animals and almost became extinct. It could be said that this is the most pathetic spatial species of animals, but Marcus still became interested in these pets. He noticed that one jellyfish was different from all the others. It was too energetic and cheerful. The seller claimed that this was a rare mutated species of hovering jellyfish, and that it would be worth much more than all the others. Luckily, Marcus is a good bargainer and knows how to get the price down on any item. At first glance, he seems like a regular nerd, but this guy has excellent communication skills. As a result, he got what he wanted for a reasonable price, and now he has a new pet. Medusa has a very naive look. Marcus could not think of anything more original than to call her silly. We all know how much Dao loves to eat. It's not hard to guess that in his free time, he constantly sleeps. He loves to eat and sleep while waiting for his owner, who comes only late in the evening. Marcus returned home and loudly announced that his family had a new pet. For Dao, it was something like a tragedy. Apparently, he refuses to accept reality. Dao became jealous and did not let his boss into the house with the terrible jellyfish. I had to promise him a huge plate of oysters and earthworms for dessert. After this, the situation immediately returned to normal, and Dao became friends with his master again. Now we can start training and educating the jellyfish fool. Right now, the jellyfish is at its lowest level, and it's very easy to make a contract with it. When a monster becomes much stronger, making a contract can become a problem. Now Marcus must spend more time with the new pet in order to increase its base level. Then the jellyfish will become more independent and will be able to become a full-fledged member of the family. For this purpose, it would be a good idea to take Silly Girl with you to school, at least for the near future. The next morning, the school children were surprised to see their friend in an unusual outfit. I had to explain to them that this was not a new hat from Balenciaga, but just an ordinary jellyfish from the city market. Lisa asked her friend to forget about jokes because today there was a serious test ahead. They will have to meet the purple scorpion. This test will be the most difficult. This time, Marcus decided to play differently. He retreats into the shadows and gives others a chance to show themselves. He's going to open the way for other participants to see how they cope with the task. All this can be planned in order to analyze the strengths and weaknesses of the future opponent. From the very first seconds, the scorpion decided to show who was the boss here and began to attack the rooster. It seems like no one is going to give in to this fight. The stakes are too high. If the purple scorpion were poisonous, the rooster would have said goodbye to life long ago. Without its venom, a scorpion is just an armored toy, and its every move is easily read. All that was left was to break through his armor, and the rooster managed to do this in the shortest possible time. Scorpio felt crushed, but then came up with a cunning plan to win. He struck a crushing blow at the forbidden place and made the rooster suffer. Never before had this pet experienced such severe pain. All the guys who watched this battle felt incredible pain. After just a few seconds, the rooster burst into tears and ran away. We probably won't see him here again. Up until this point, Marcus and his pet had consistently taken first place in tests. Everyone who was mad at Marcus before finally gets a chance to shine. Let's see what they're really worth. It turns out that when it comes to serious problems, no one is ready to take a step forward into the unknown. Marcus will have to do all the dirty work himself again. Centipede Dao has been waiting for a long time for the opportunity to prove itself. This pet has never fought against a scorpion before. The battle promises to be as exciting and uncompromising as possible. After another evolution, the centipede has reached a new level of capabilities. Now, in equal fights, opponents have no chance to stop this monster. Watching this battle, it is impossible not to admire the progress of this pet. After just a few minutes, the scorpion was seriously injured and refused to continue the fight. Everyone around fell silent, as if acknowledging the local champion among monsters. Marcus beams with pride. His beast has really improved, and every fight confirms it. The competitors have no chance to take first place in this task. The young genius is too serious. Basic training was soon completed, which means that tomorrow the students will have a change. Absolutely anyone will be able to apply to go to the training base, where more serious training will take place throughout the week. A training base in uncharted territory is a great opportunity to improve your level. Of course, such training cannot be free. Experienced soldiers make easy money by teaching basic skills to school children. Such a trip costs a lot, but without it, you can forget about the treasured ticket to university. Marcus has been working a lot lately, so he shouldn't have any problems with money. In just a few days, it was time to go on crazy training in hellish conditions. Students will face a week of serious trials and constant tests of strength. There is a tense atmosphere on the bus now. Everyone is preparing for the worst. Marcus looks a little thoughtful about not being able to see Barbara this morning. She doesn't answer the phone or open the door to her apartment. Could something have happened? Now it's better for him not to think about all these problems. It's better to concentrate on studying. After arriving at the military base, it was time to face higher-level monsters. Students must survive in the wild, and each of them will receive a watch with a GPS navigator in case of emergency. Of course, no one guarantees that high school students will survive this week. Absolutely anything could happen, so they had already written a will. In the Wild Valley, there are safe houses that can be called shelters. There is enough food there to survive for 7 days. The group of students received all the recommendations and set off on their own. Now, you can't envy them at all, because in the wild, there is no way to call mom and change a diaper. You will have to adapt to field conditions and survive at any cost. Of course, Marcus plans to go through this journey with his girlfriend to support each other in difficult times. On the first day, they walked a long way in search of food and better conditions. They were able to get acquainted with various plants and study the conditions of the wild environment. In the forest, they finally reached one of the supply points. It was an ordinary house, painted in military camouflage colors, although that didn't help at all. Once inside, you immediately notice the quiet and rather poor atmosphere. Basic beds, adequate water, and some food can be found here. These are clearly not products from a Michelin restaurant, but they will be enough to survive. You can even find a protective suit here, although it is unlikely to help when meeting an elite monster. Today, Marcus is extremely focused. He wants to take first place in the ranking again and prove his talent. He also thinks about Lisa, who needs help. You will have to constantly support this girl in difficult moments, but she can also be useful, so she should not be underestimated. Teamwork is the key to success during testing, and you can't do without supporting each other and helping each other. The friends continued their journey through the wild nature. The most interesting things were waiting for them ahead. It is important to remember that Lisa owns an iron rhinoceros, which can come in handy in the field. If some terrible monster attacks them, this rhinoceros is always ready to repel any attack. Soon the young explorers found a source of drinking water. For now, this forest looks more like a resort where you can relax and not worry about anything. So far, we haven't even encountered a single terrible monster here, although the instructor promised real horror. A little later, it turned out that there was a huge number of frogs in this reservoir. They all had strange expressions on their faces. They probably didn't like the fact that unexpected guests had appeared here. Within seconds, the frogs began to attack the high school students with some unknown force. I had to take Lisa by the hand and save myself immediately before it was too late. The students managed to escape the poisonous frogs. This pond almost became their grave. The instructor warned that the forest was extremely dangerous. Even cute and quiet frogs could become a death sentence for an inexperienced student. It's time to take stock and figure out where to go to avoid dying. To the east, there is a body of water where you can meet a large family of frogs. To the west, you can find a gate. This area seems safe due to the large number of trees and few animals. In the south, dense jungle begins.